Imagine a World War II film where some of the most honourable characters are German soldiers. That sounds impossible. After all, Hollywood war films usually make it very clear who the heroes are and who the villains are. Yet The Eagle Has Landed does something extraordinary. It asks us to follow a group of German paratroopers on a mission to kidnap Winston Churchill. And somehow, against all expectations, it makes us care what happens to them. So here's the question: how did a film built around such an unlikely premise become one of the most respected war films of the 1970s? Let's find out. Roll titles. Released in 1976 and directed by John Sturges, The Eagle Has Landed is based on the best-selling novel by Jack Higgins. The film stars Michael Caine as Colonel Kurt Steiner, Donald Sutherland as the mysterious IRA operative Liam Devlin, and Donald Pleasance as Heinrich Himmler. The story imagines a daring German plan to kidnap Churchill from an English village during the Second World War. Of course, we know from history that Churchill was never kidnapped, but that's part of what makes the film so fascinating. It's not trying to tell us what happened, it's asking us what might have happened, and it does so with remarkable confidence. Today, we're used to alternate history stories, television shows, novels, films that ask what if. Back in 1976, that approach was much less common. The Eagle Has Landed arrived at a time when many war films were still focused on historical battles and real events. Instead, this film takes a completely fictional scenario and treats it with absolute seriousness. The result is something that feels surprisingly believable. More importantly, it challenged audiences to view war from multiple perspectives. The film doesn't excuse the actions of Nazi Germany, far from it, but it does recognise that individual soldiers can possess courage, honour and humanity, regardless of which uniform they're wearing. That was a bold approach then, and it remains unusual today. At first glance, this is a mission movie. A team is assembled, a plan is created, an operation begins. Simple. But underneath the action, The Eagle Has Landed is really about professional soldiers trapped by circumstances beyond their control. Colonel Steiner isn't portrayed as a fanatical Nazi. He's portrayed as a soldier, a man trying to do his duty. Similarly, Liam Devlin isn't fighting for Germany. He's pursuing his own cause. The film constantly blurs traditional lines between hero and villain. In many ways, the story becomes a tragedy, not because we don't know the outcome, we do, but because we gradually realise that many of these characters are heading towards a fate they cannot escape. But here's where The Eagle Has Landed becomes genuinely remarkable. Most war films create tension by making us wonder whether the heroes will succeed. This film can't do that. We already know Churchill wasn't kidnapped. So why does the final act remain so gripping? Well, the answer lies in one brilliant storytelling decision that transforms the film from a simple war adventure into something much more emotional. And we'll come back to that in a moment. The first reason is the cast. Michael Caine delivers one of the strongest performances of his career. Steiner is intelligent, disciplined, and surprisingly sympathetic. Caine avoids turning him into either a stereotypical villain or a conventional hero. Instead, he creates a fully rounded character. Donald Sutherland is equally memorable as Liam Devlin. Cool, charismatic, and unpredictable. He steals nearly every scene he's in. His performance gives the film much of its personality. Then there's Donald Pleasance. His screen time may be limited, but his portrayal of Heinrich Himmler is remarkably effective. Director John Sturges keeps the pace moving throughout. The operation unfolds methodically, Every stage of the mission feels plausible. Every setback feels significant. The village setting is also a masterstroke. Instead of battlefields and explosions, much of the tension comes from ordinary English life. That contrast makes the danger feel even greater. Most importantly, the film trusts its audience. It doesn't rely on constant action. It allows suspense to build naturally. And when the action finally does arrive, it feels earned. One of the most fascinating aspects of The Eagle Has Landed is how it came together. The novel by Jack Higgins became an international bestseller almost overnight. Hollywood quickly recognised its potential. John Sturges, already famous for directing classics such as The Great Escape, was brought in to helm the adaptation, and you can see similarities between the two films. Both focus on groups of professionals, both build tension through planning and preparation, and both understand character is just as important as action. Interestingly, Michael Caine later admitted that he accepted the role partly because he found Steiner such an unusual character. British audiences had rarely seen a German officer portrayed with such complexity. The film's success proved there was an appetite for more nuanced storytelling in the war genre. So let's return to our original question. How did a film about Nazis attempting to kidnap Winston Churchill end up becoming such a respected war film? Because beneath its outrageous premise lies something deeply human. The Eagle Has Landed isn't really about the mission, it's about the people carrying it out. It's about loyalty, duty, friendship, honour, and the tragedy of good men finding themselves on the wrong side of history. The performances are excellent, the suspense remains effective, and the storytelling is intelligent enough to rise above its pulpy origins. Is it historically accurate? No. Is it believable? Perhaps not entirely, but none of that matters, because the film succeeds in making us invest emotionally in characters whose fate we already know. That's not easy, and it's one of the reasons why The Eagle Has Landed remains such a rewarding watch nearly 50 years later. For me, it's one of the finest fictional war thrillers ever made. But what do you think? Is The Eagle Has Landed one of the greatest World War II thrillers ever made? Or do you prefer classics like The Guns of Navarone, Where Eagles Dare, or A Bridge Too Far? Let me know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this review, please consider subscribing to Golden Age Flicks, as it really helps the channel grow. Join me next time for more classic film reviews, movie discussions and recommendations. And until next time, keep the projector running.